All right, welcome back. So we've got ourselves a player and we've got some nice goals here. We've got some good textures on there, but you may notice that we're kind of lacking in the background department here. This gray world is not really that exciting to look at, especially when I fall down. And it would be nice to be able to see something a little more dynamic, a little more interesting visually. So let's have a look at adding a background into our game. And there's a couple different ways that I'm gonna add these, um, or a couple different backgrounds we're gonna look at. Both of them, however, start with a new node. So I'm gonna add a new node to my level 1 called World Environment. And a world environment is just that. It allows us to look at the background world here. You can see that it's the default is this gray that we're used to seeing, but I want to add something a little more interesting. And notice it gives me a little warning saying there is no environment property. So we move over here to the empty environment, and I'm going to make a new environment. And then, like a lot of things, like a material, I click on it again so I can add some settings or change some properties here. And you'll see a bunch of them, much like when we did a material. You've got background, ambient light, you've got fog, you've got a lot of interesting things. We're going to start off with the background here because at the moment we've got this default clear color, which is why we don't really see anything. But you can, if you want to, add a custom color and have a colored background. A little more interesting. The default is black here, so I could bring up, say, a nice yellow. And you can see already that it influences your world here. You can see the materials are reflecting and picking up the texture, the color from the background light there. But this is okay, but still kind of staying with the solid colors. And I wanted something a little more rich. So I'm going to switch down to another mode here, which we've got, which is the sky mode. And if I pick sky, you can see I'm back to this plain gray, but a new little item has dropped down here, has appeared called sky, because I get to customize and kind of set up the sky how I want. And currently the sky resource is empty, so I'm going to make a new sky. And then it sets to black, but again, click on it, and we start to um, drop down to all of these different settings and layers we can put on top of our sky. At the moment, there's no material for the sky, and sky materials are just like other materials. We get to set them up and create a bunch of settings. At the moment, it's empty, so I'm going to click here, and we get several different options. I'm only going to look at two of them in this video. The procedural sky and the panorama sky. The first one, we're going to look at the procedural sky. This is a procedurally generated, or basically a mathematically generated material that you can create and set up in Godot. So I'm going to click procedural sky here, and you can see the default looks very similar to that one we were looking at before in the editor. We've got a bluish sky, kind of a gray plain background. But when we click on that one, we can then use a lot of the different settings like before. For instance, if I drop down sky, I can change the color, and we've got two colors here. Notice a blue-gray at the top and a light gray with a hint of blue at the bottom. But if I wanted to, maybe I'll make that a little more dramatic. I could make that a little redder, maybe brighten it up a bit. And then the bottom color, the horizon color there, maybe we want to make that a little more gold. So you get a very like a sunrise kind of look and feel to your background here. You can also change how those are blended together with this curve, and you can even change how much energy or light is coming through, how bright the background is, depending on the look and feel that you're going for in your game. We also get to tweak the ground here. Similarly to the sky, we can choose the bottom color and the horizon color. So you've really got two kind of gradient colors you can play with. And we can even tweak the sun. We can change which angle the sun's coming at, and we can change, how it influences the world around us by playing with some of these resources here. So you can really kind of create the exact look and feel that you're going for using a procedural sky. here. We can also, maybe I wanted to make this a bit more dark, so I'm gonna dim the world a little bit, and this one here, make it a bit of a darker, spookier, maybe apocalyptic type looking game. And there's other things we can tweak with the different lights here, but another favorite is the fog. So we can turn on fog. And at the beginning, it's just kind of a light dusting of fog, but you can certainly play with some of the colors of the fog. We can also grab the density. I'm going to crank up the density here. So if I play my game, you can see I get the background influence here, but also this fog kind of, as I move farther away from things, you can see I can barely see that goal now. So this is a great way of kind of adding some spookiness to your game. You don't get to see the actual objects until you're much closer to them. You can see the different look there between the different levels. And I'm going to turn off my visible collision shapes there, so I don't need that anymore. So this is a great way of being able to create the exact kind of look and feel of your game. The other powerful part about a procedural sky is that all of these properties you can access via code. Like we've done some other things like the rotation of the player. So you can customize these with code so that perhaps when you got a trophy or got to a certain area, the whole world could change. The boss is about to emerge. You set a checkpoint, and the sky goes dark, and the sun can move, and they can all be animated and totally controlled from within code. So they're very powerful that way. Uh, and that's one particular option. Now, in the sky here, I'm going to reset that sky back to the original. There we go. Oh, I've still got some fog there. Oh, let's just reset the whole environment. There we go. And let's make a new environment with a new sky. And in the sky now, what I want to do is make a new sky and look at the other option here, which is the Panorama Sky material. And this is a really popular one. A lot of people like this for the exact same reason. They get total control over the feel of their game. The difference with the panorama is it's basically a picture that we put into the background. So you don't have as much detailed control over all the aspects unless you have created the picture yourself. So in this case, with the Panorama Sky material, we do the same idea, but we need a picture file to go in for this panorama. And just to show you how it works, I'm going to grab the Godot Head and drag that over into the panorama. And you can see now we have this giant wrapped Godot Head around the environment in a 360, so it's almost like we're looking inside of a sphere. A very powerful and cool idea. The Godot head obviously isn't the best choice, especially with my camera angle here. If I play my game, I can kind of see it in the background, but not really. Um, and I'm actually looking at the back of the Godot head, so I can't really see much. But we can get a better image, and then later on, when we can use our mouse to look around our environment, we're going to get a very cool effect. The picture you choose is pretty important. You can see the Godot head gets kind of distorted and stretched out. So if you want, I've put on Moodle some resource and links, but you can also go and just Google a 360 panorama. And if you go look at your images, you can find a lot of these websites. There's some pay ones out there, but you can also find lots of great 360 panoramas out there. When you're looking at a good 360 panorama, it's going to look weird flat. You're going to get this very distorted kind of strange picture, which is exactly what we want, because what I'm looking for is when it turns into a sphere that it looks normal. So I'm just going to grab one here. Let's grab this, nice little city scene here. Make sure you click on it. Don't use the thumbnail. And if I then right click and I'm going to save this image, I'm going to pop it right into my game folder here. And I'm going to put it into the graphics. So I've got change the name to something better, call it 360 Pano. There you go. Um, Now that will pop up into my game. Oh, saved that into the wrong folder. Let's try that again. We are doing a 3D game. Let's pop it into materials here because it's kind of like a material. Just leave it as that file name. And it gets popped up into our materials. There's my 360 panel. And if I grab that and drag it over, now you're going to see that we get this very cool, immersive kind of world that we can look around in, at least in my editor. And it's going to be a lot better and more interesting background for me when I play my game because I can really put this in some kind of setting. Now, obviously, I only get to look at a little bit of the scene because my camera is only facing one direction, but I can see all the different sides here and it gives me that feel of the background. If I fall off, I'm looking straight down at one camera angle. When we switch to a mouse look, you're going to get a really cool kind of 3D effect on there. But there's our backgrounds, and so you can now either choose between a procedurally generated sky or a panorama sky and kind of create the look and feel for your game if you want to create some kind of theme for it.